Welcome to the Sun Goddess Creations first ever podcast episode. This podcast will be your go-to for all things regarding self-discovery and self-expression. We'll also be discussing topics like religious deconstruction, more taboo subjects like non-traditional relationship orientations and sexuality, and much more, all with the intention of supporting your soul's evolvement and highest expression. I am your host, Jenica Dawn. I am a certified life coach, but mostly I like to label myself as an artist because if we're being real, life coach is a little too staunch for me. And I'm a free spirit. I just like to create and I want to put things out there for you in hopes that it will support you in your journey because life gets messy and I'm here to shine some light in the darkness and to bring joy where there is pain. And there's a lot of pain that I know we are experiencing as a collective right now. And I want to send my love your way. And if I can lighten the load, just even for a little while, then I've done good work. So thank you for being here. And my heart goes out to you. So today I would like to touch on a subject that I feel is actually very, very close to my heart. I think that's kind of a weird way to put it, but I've had a lot of experience in this subject. I made a podcast about 4 years ago, and I made about 2 episodes. It was just short. It was a little blip. But I think that I recognized that maybe I wasn't quite ready to go there yet because I was still very much working through a lot of those things and I was coming from a wounded space for sure, although my intentions were beautiful and I think that even the advice that I was giving was it was good. It was good advice. At the same time, I definitely needed to turn inward and just be with myself and work on some healing and step away from like the whole coaching business that I was trying to start and that I was desperately trying to force into existence. But this subject, I feel that I've actually grown in my perspective on it a lot, and where I know that my healing journey will probably continue. It's never linear. It's never finished. These subjects will probably continue to come up in my life. I do feel that I understand it from a different angle now, and it's helped me a lot in my growth journey, in my self-discovery journey. So today I want to touch on narcissism. I grew up with, I guess, what you could call a narcissistic father. I definitely dated what I called multiple narcissists, right? And I think that we throw around this label a lot. And I believe that it's widely overused. Like we use it so much in our society now. And I feel honestly that it's kind of a way to just write people off at this point. And not just write people off, but write ourselves off in our own personal responsibility. And I was one of those people. I threw that word around like it was candy. I was like, you're a narcissist and you're a narcissist. And everyone that I know is a narcissist. Well, at some point, it kind of forces you to look in the mirror at the common denominator. And once I started learning about the law of attraction, especially, I recognized, okay, wait a second. If everything in my reality is a mirror to what I'm experiencing internally, what does this mean about me? And at first that would send me down spirals of, am I the narcissist? Am I this terrible person? Am I really what people think that I am? Because I had other people in my life that were projecting those views back onto me and calling me a narcissist and having perceptions of me that really attacked at my self-esteem. And that was a really difficult time actually for me. It wasn't even just one time. It's been multiple times that I have sat with myself and have had to question all of my intentions. Am I like all the things that I'm being told that I am? And, and then I would always come to the conclusion, okay, well, a narcissist wouldn't even be asking these questions. So I guess that I'm not. I guess I'm good to go. But then, it would come back up. The question would continue to come back up because I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding around what narcissism actually is. And I'm going to step aside from the whole narcissistic personality disorder discussion right now just for a moment to shed a light on what narcissism itself is. So, narcissism, what I have discovered through my own experience and through really, really digging deep into my own internal world, and right, I've picked up characteristics from like my dad. And I've had to look at myself and be like, okay, what qualities am I emulating that might be similar to this person who I despise for these certain reasons? And it wasn't until I was able to look at myself with compassion and understanding and curiosity that I was able to come to these conclusions, because at first it was covered in shame and just like all these questions of, who the fuck am I? Why am I the way that I am? Is there something wrong with me? Why does everybody think ill of me? I'm the common denominator. I'm the problem. It was like that shameful voice inside of me that was taking over the show. And it wasn't until I started coming to myself with curiosity and compassion that I began to unravel what narcissism really is, where it comes from, and how to deconstruct that shit, because we don't want to be carrying that around. So I've kind of come to this understanding that narcissism, it's not just a wall that people put up. It's a mask. And that mask was designed by that person to protect them from abandonment, because they have experienced abandonment in the past, either abandonment or rejection, or a lack of love, safety, and belonging. And love, safety, and belonging are our three essential needs as human beings. So if we feel at any point that we might be losing those things, that we start to grasp on, we start to cling on to those things, then we start acting out of character, because it's out of a survival mode. So narcissism is really a mask that we put on out of survival to make sure that we don't lose our sense of love, safety, and belonging. Some people wear, a mask of domination because they feel powerless over their own lives. Maybe they've grown up not knowing where their power lies, and therefore feel the need to control other people to make up for their lack of self-empowerment. This could have started at a very young age where they didn't have choice. Their parents didn't give them choice. Maybe their parental figure was very domineering as well and controlling because they didn't know their power, and so on and so on. Some people wear the mask of heartlessness or carelessness, a lack of regard for others. And I truly believe it's to cover up how much they actually do care, but how much they were not cared for, maybe as a kid. Some wear the mask of unapologetic charisma, right? Because they have not felt seen. Charisma in the sense that they're maybe trying to take over all the attention. They're talking a lot and talking loudly and begging to be seen above others, or trying to dim other people's light because they have not felt seen, and it's their desire to feel seen. Some people wear the mask of the perpetrator because they have been victimized themselves. All of these masks are honestly they're simply coping mechanisms. All of them being one of seeking that love, safety, and belonging, but none of them leading to actual true love, safety, and belonging. So it's kind of a vicious cycle. It's almost like an addiction of acting out in the behavior of choice or behaviors of choice, seeking out that love, safety, and belonging, but never actually finding it, and a vicious cycle of shame that comes along with it. I call it the shame cycle. So when you drink too much, you might feel like shit the next day, and then you feel shame about it. So to cover up the shame, you drink more. And that's kind of how I've observed the behaviors of narcissism presenting themselves. It's kind of like an addiction. When we're attracting what we would label as a narcissist, it's because they're mirroring back to us. And I know that this is probably not something that everyone wants to hear or is even ready to hear. So take this with a grain of salt, take this as you will. But when we're attracting what we would label as a narcissist, I think it's easier to stamp labels onto people and to judge instead of looking inward at what it is that we are emulating that might be attracting that to us. But what it is that they're mirroring back to us our own self-hatred, our own victim mentality. If we're around perpetrators, we feel like a victim. And we are around perpetrators because we already feel like a victim. That's what we are attracting. It's mirroring back our own disregard for ourselves. When someone doesn't regard us, it's because we are not regarding ourselves. And you want to stay and try to fight them, beg for their assurance, convince them that you're worth it. When really, the greatest way to protect yourself would be to remove yourself, and someone who regards themselves truly would never be in that position. It's mirroring back our own rejection and abandonment wounds that have not yet been healed, and there's nothing wrong with this. We all seek love, and the problem is that we have not been taught to seek love in the right space, the place that would actually fulfill us and satisfy our desire and need for it, which is only found internally, can only be found internally and then externally as a result. I think a lot of times we label people as evil, right? But do we even know what evil means? It's so much easier to just create a label and stamp it on somebody or even ourselves and really not understand the root or the core of what's going on behind that label. What is causing the behaviors? And I heard someone say recently, and I'll have to track back, I'm not exactly sure who it was, what his name was, but it really sat with me and resonated deeply. It felt very aligned. He said that evil is the absence of love. That's all it is. So anyone that we deem as evil is someone who's simply fallen far from love, beginning with themselves. So if they don't know what love feels like, they wouldn't know how to give it or receive it. It makes sense. And I think we try to fight evil with more evil. We try to fight aggression with more aggression. We try to fight it with revenge, right? When we're hurt people hurt people. But if, as a collective, we could step into the love within ourselves, if we could find that, ground ourselves within it, find safety within our being, we will not only stop attracting that so-called evil into our existence, but we won't even see it as evil. We will see it as someone lacking in love. So the way to fight fire is not with more fire, it's with water. The way to fight hate and aggression and disregard and carelessness is not with more hate and aggression and disregard and carelessness. It's with love. It's with care. It's with curiosity and compassion rather than judgment and shaming. I think that there's beauty in recognizing and admitting that we've been a victim of abuse. I know that for me, this was really important when I was beginning to heal from the narcissistic, abusive situations that I was in, whether it be the religious trauma that I endured from a very young age that I came out of, or the relationships that I was in that were abusive. It was really important for me to recognize that I have been a victim, because when you're in those situations, a lot of times you're being invalidated, you're being gaslit, your reality is being questioned, and you don't know how to trust yourself, which is why you ended up there in the first place, right? So at a certain point, it's really, really important to say, okay, this was a real experience. I'm not crazy. I am a victim of abuse, and I did not deserve this. And I think that that is a really beautiful way to meet yourself and acknowledge yourself and validate the parts of you that have been invalidated by being with a narcissist or being in an abusive situation. That's the reason that we've been seeking that validation in that narcissistic relationship or abusive system to begin with. So if we can validate ourselves, that's where the juice is. That's where the healing begins. I do think, though, that victim mentality can only be step one. Because if we stay there, we are only perpetuating our misery and continuing to choose misery and to choose victimhood. And when we're choosing victimhood on a daily basis, we attract more experiences into our reality that victimize us. And that's not what you want, babe. It's just not. It's not. You know that it's not. I think that the second step in recovery is recognizing that we do not need to play the role of the victim anymore. And we don't also need to play the role of the perpetrator. Some people flip on its head, right? Well, because I've been the victim, now I need to be on top. Because I have been the submissive, I now need to be the dominant figure. Because I have been wronged, I need to be the one who's doing the wronging so that it's not me, so that it's somebody else this time. And where it feels like an empowering decision, it's actually incredibly disempowering because it's dragging you into the very vibration that you are trying to escape from. You don't want more of that into your reality. What you want, what you are seeking, is true love, safety, and belonging. And that comes from taking the role of the hero, taking on the role as the hero of your own life, strapping your balls on and saying, you know what, this is my life. I'm going to choose what I see from here on out. I'm going to choose who I am, regardless of who everyone else is being. I'm going to be true to myself. And I want a life that looks like real love, that looks like real safety, that looks like real connection, where I can be completely authentically myself and not have to hide and still be loved. And if I am abandoned by all others, I know I got me. That can be a difficult concept to grasp, but it's the most healing and freeing experience that I think we can give ourselves. I think when we try to outsource our need for love, safety, and belonging, it always leaves us more empty. Have you ever gotten in a conversation with somebody that you're maybe in an intimate relationship with, for instance, and you're dying for them to see you? You're begging for their reassurance on a certain subject, and they're not giving you what you want. They're not giving you what you need, and you keep begging and begging, like, why can't you just see me? Why don't you see me? They can only see you to the degree in which you see yourself. And it's like, again, it's like a drug. It's like turning to the same drug that has not provided you the satisfaction that you've been seeking, but doing it over and over again, hoping that someday it will. Because maybe the first time you took the drug, the high was so great, maybe the love bombing stage, right? We're talking narcissism, or even religious abuse, cults. They love bomb you. They promise you all these, they give you all these false promises of love, safety, and belonging. I say it a lot, but there's a reason. And then you are like a month in and you realize, fuck, what is this? Like, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I chose. This is not what I thought that I chose. And it's kind of like that with the drug, right? You take the drug, you take it a few more times and you're like, okay, this is not giving me the same high that I had before. Why not? It's a different circumstance. It's the way that the brain works. You're not going to feel the exact same thing the second time around. You're going to get used to it. You're going to get tired of it, and therefore expect more from it, and it won't ever be able to give you that result. What you seek is not something you can beg for or try to control outside of yourself. It's only found when you meet yourself with curiosity instead of judgment, with love instead of shaming, self-empowerment rather than attempting to control the outside world. The more time that you devote, the energy and attention that you devote to you, the more you'll begin to chip away at the masks that you felt that you need to put on And the less you will feel the need to protect yourself from this so-called evil, because you already know that you're protected by love and that within you, you have everything. And again, this is a journey. I think that everybody learns in their own time and in their own way what that means for them. And I know that it's not easy. I know that it's not always simple. And some of the concepts that I'm referring to might seem a little bit more simple than what's actually going on in your reality. But I want to point out that you are the creator of your reality. You are not a victim. You're the creator of your circumstances. And this is not in any way to victim blame or shame you for where you've been, for where you are maybe, for the pain that you've experienced. This is a way to self-empower you, because we want to replace that shame with responsibility. I think a lot of us are afraid to take responsibility or to look in the mirror because we believe deep down that on the other side of that is more shame, is more punishment. And so we don't look. We're too afraid to look because we believe that what we see will be unlovable, that we will continue to be shamed and punished for being who we are, for having the flaws that we have, for having the pain and the wounds that we have that we didn't choose. And the self-empowering part is when you begin to take responsibility for your life, meaning I get to choose now. I choose my thoughts. I choose my actions. I choose my reactions. I choose how I perceive a certain situation, how I view another person. I choose who I have in my life. And that self-nourishment is key. I want to leave it at that. I want to keep it simple for this first episode. I hope that gave you some perspective if this whole subject of narcissism has been confusing for you, because I know that it certainly has been for me, which is why I've gone down this rabbit hole of deconstructing and reconstructing my idea on it, my view on it. And I think that there's so much misconception around it, and it's just widely overused, this term. And really, at the end of the day, we're all just people. We all have the same essential core needs and desires. Those desires are leading us home to the self, where that love resides, where that safety resides regardless of what's going on around us, where that belonging is found within and therefore truly found on the outside, because you're showing up authentically and truly now. You don't have to put on a mask and attract the wrong people who can't truly see you or hold space for all of you because you're not showing all of you. It's okay to put you first. You don't need to feel guilty about it. I think we've twisted this idea of narcissism being selfishness. And I have a lot of views on this idea, right? Of selfishness. I think we've demonized this word on purpose to pull us away from the truth of who we are. And that is, we should be self-prioritizing. We should be selfish. We should be putting ourselves first. And if we did, maybe the world would be a lot happier. And we wouldn't be outsourcing so much and begging other people to meet the needs that only we can truly meet. I think that we have this idea that narcissists are the ones who are selfish and greedy and careless and egotistical and arrogant, when really the truth is that they're insecure, they're in pain, they're wounded. And this does not mean they are your project to fix. Let me reiterate that. This does not mean that if you have a narcissist in your life, that they are your project to fix. Focus on you. This is the only responsibility that you have. This is your only responsibility. If there's anything that you take away from this episode, it is this. Your only responsibility is to put you first, to nourish yourself, and to chase your desires. Listen to your inner callings. Listen to that still small voice in you that has led you throughout your whole life. And you will begin to attract those who are meant for you, those who can see you, who love you for who you are. You will begin to attract a life that feels safe, a world that feels safe. You'll begin to attract real love because you know it. You know what it feels like. You're embodying it. You give it to yourself and you're not in need of it anymore because you have it. You know it's already yours. And when you're coming from that space, you're telling the universe, I've got it. So the universe gives you more evidence that you've got it. I hope that you benefited from this episode, and I plan on doing many more. If you have any recommendations for topics, or if you would like to join me and have a conversation about all things taboo, about all things religious trauma, about all things sexuality, relationship orientations, all that good stuff, self-discovery, self-expression, the juice of life, please reach out. Do not hesitate. I love you deeply. Thank you for your time, and here's to your rising.